An opportunity to upgrade at a position of need. What was once elite is now okay. And we are 2 sleeps. Yes, 2 sleeps away from the start of training camp. It is SNL. Andrew Locker, Cody Stutes with you. Shout out to Bobtac for sponsoring this video. Let's just hop right into this. The most polarizing position during this position series has been tight end. And there's a lot of frustration with Dalton Schultz. And as the days to camp become less and less, there's now an opportunity for a potential, I don't know if you're going to call it an upgrade or not, but an opportunity to add someone at the tight end position.
Yeah, Noah Fant got released by the Seattle Seahawks yesterday, and they moved on from him. He's a free agent, and the Texans should take a look at this guy. And if they could get a deal struck and get him in for camp that starts in a couple of days, go ahead and bring Noah Fant in. I don't really see a downside to having Noah Fant come in and compete. Obviously, it could be a crowded market looking for his services. You could have a bunch of different teams, and you may just not feel like you want to make the financial commitment to him. But if he's interested and Nick Caley feels like he can get something out of him, what's the harm in having this guy be in the building come training camp and fighting it out with Dalton Schultz and Cade Stover and everybody else for tight end reps on this team?
Yeah, see, it is interesting because I think there's a couple of things that I take away from this. Number one, it just he's kind of in the same category as Dalton Schultz, and Seattle didn't really want him on their football team. I think they actually saved $7-8 million by making the move when they did. So it's kind of a no-brainer for them. And I think if the Texans, quite frankly, could save $7 or $8 million this year by getting rid of Dalton Schultz, I think they might have been willing to do that. They're just kind of stuck in the Schultz contract. So I think it's kind of symbolic of the same caliber type of player being on the market and Seattle wanting to cut bait with him. The other thing I look at this, and this would be where my pushback would be as to whether or not Noah Fant would fit with the Texans, is I think Seattle's kind of in a similar spot with the Texans in that I think a lot of their production is going to come from the slot. And they have 2 guys that they really like in the slot with JSN and Cooper Kupp. And I think that's kind of the way that they're kind of transitioning to the intermediate passing. And I think the Texans are kind of gonna, I don't think the Texans sit here and say, okay, we must have this much production at the tight end position. I think that there's going to be a lot of production from the slots. And I don't think there's like a desperate feeling yet to bring in a Noah Fant, who right away is one of your top 2 receiving tight ends right off the rip, even with his struggles. So I think the production is going to come in other areas. And I don't know that they want to double down on the nightmare that's been Dalton Schultz.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you say he's going to be another Dalton Schultz, somebody wants that, but he's not going to cost $12 million. Like, he's just a few million bucks. It doesn't work out, you cut him. Like, I think it's worth it. It's worth having it in there. And yeah, it'd be nice to have some slot production, but the counterpoint to that would be Christian Kirk gets hurt, and we've never seen Jalen Noel play at the NFL level in the slot position. And like, I know Noah Fant can go out there and catch the ball. He had 500 receiving yards in 14 games last year, the tight end spot. Yeah, it's not great. Seattle just, they were content with a rookie and a second-year guy who's not very good in A.J. Barner being their tight ends. Like, they're content with that. So it goes to show you where he didn't really fit there for what they wanted. And it feels like they made that move as soon as it wasn't going to cost them a bunch of money to make that move. And if you read between the lines with some of the rumors that Seattle people have talked about that I've been reading about, maybe he just never gelled with the new head coach that they had in Seattle. And he kind of wanted to maybe do it last year, but there was financial incentives to not do it last year. So he didn't fit with them. And I guess you could draw the line and say, if you didn't fit with Mike McDonald, you may not fit with DeMeco Ryans. But, hey, a couple of tight ends that can catch the football, where have we seen that work before? Like, you can do a lot worse than Noah Fant being on your depth chart.
Yeah, we've seen it work. We've seen it work with multiple slots, too, because you're obviously referring to the Patriots. Here's the other thing that I think is kind of a two-way thing. Maybe the Texans want to get some sort of look at camp of what their tight end room looks like. And maybe Noah Fant, quite frankly, just wants to avoid the first couple weeks of training camp.
That's certainly a possibility.
You just got released. So maybe you kind of want to just sit back and let stuff shape up. Hell, maybe a tight end gets hurt in the first 2 weeks and all of a sudden there's like desperation, like in a certain spot. But that from a player's perspective, a lot of them, I'm not saying everyone's like Jadeveon Clowney or something like that, but they don't want to go to training camp. They want to avoid training camp. They want to sign later. And maybe the Texans at least want to get a look at what their tight ends look like. But I think you and I both agree there's not much upside there. It's not a very strong position. If Noah Fant were on the Texans, I think this would kind of threaten Brevin Jordan's spot. Because I think the Brevin Jordan spot, it's kind of getting penciled in. I don't think it's penciled in yet. I don't know that he necessarily is going to fit as smoothly into what they do as what was perhaps believed before. Like we've seen situations where like Dameon Pierce has a really good rookie season, and then all of a sudden there's a new system and he's fallen off ever since. Or Jalen Petrie has a good rookie season in Lovie Smith's defense, and then D'Amico's arrives. I think just penciling in Brevin Jordan as someone who Nick Caley is automatically going to like, and Nick Caley is automatically going to clear up a roster spot for, I think it's kind of a dangerous assumption to make. So I do think if you bring in Fant, I think he kind of fits in as your tight end 3 or 2, whatever, like however you want to put it, 1 on certain days. But I think it's more of a traditional 3 tight end look as opposed to like the hybrid that is Brevin Jordan. I think assuming that Brevin Jordan is going to just fit like a glove in this offense, I don't think it's a rational assumption to make.
I don't believe Brevin Jordan's going to make the team. That's, before we get to training camp here a couple of days out, I don't believe he's going to make the team. But yeah, Fant's on the team, then Brevin Jordan's off the team. He's not going to replace Stover, and he wouldn't replace Dalton Schultz. I would say if your tight end room in this hypothetical, if your tight end room is Stover, Fant, and Dalton Schultz, it's probably the worst pass blocking tight end room in the entire league.
Let's just be serious though. If it's what it is right now, it probably is too.
Yeah. I mean, if
you replace Fant with Brevin Jordan, it probably is too.
Yeah, but my thing is there's a tiny hope that Luke Lachey could pass block better than some of these guys. And I would say if you have Noah Fant, then Luke Lachey is not making the team. So I think Luke Lachey could make them from 32 to 31. So, but if they don't have Luke Lachey, and it's Fant, Schultz, and Stover, they're 32. Unless Stover got way better.
Yeah, I think Lachey's the guy to watch, like as far as right now. But the Noah Fant option. It's definitely something worth kicking around, and we'll see how that whole thing shapes up. I think they're going to want to get a look at what they got, though.
I will be very interested to see ultimately, like if what you said, he waits it out a few weeks just to see, or if there's somebody that's just like over the moon to have him right now, and ultimately what he signs for. Because if he's, he ends up on like a 1-year deal with somebody for like $2 million bucks. I'm gonna be sitting here pissed that he's not getting a look with the Texans for $2.5 or $3 million bucks. That'd be an annoying ad. But if he signs, a real deal with somebody, $4 or $5 million, $6 million bucks, I understand not taking that swing.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. HDAV Traveler says, Cody, I hope you did not lose too much money at the casino.
I did not. I did okay. What
does okay mean?
I didn't come back with some huge deficit. I didn't lose it all. Usually when you go to the casino, I don't know how other people operate. I take it with the assumption that if I come back with 0, my life's not going to be like drastically altered.
That's a good approach.
There's some people that go, and when they come back, they're like, "Ooh, the car payment's going to be a little tight this month." That's not the way to do it. You take what you could lose. I took what I could lose, and I came back with basically what I took. So I was pretty happy with that.
Camp starts in 2 days. Some other news around the NFL. You have Will Levis, a.k.a. Gosh Allen. I don't know how he was going to fit into what they were going to do in Tennessee, but he's having season-ending shoulder surgery right off the top. So it looks like Cam Ward, he was going to be the starting quarterback anyways. Now there's like little doubt about it. They don't even have to pretend that there's some sort of competition. So Will Levis selected with the Texans' original second-round pick and acquired in the pick that they traded to Arizona in the Will Anderson trade, and then Arizona traded it to Tennessee. Will Levis, nice knowing you. Don't think we see him perform in this division anytime soon. He gone.
It's a really good job by Will Levis to guarantee another year of an NFL contract because they can just stick him on IR. They pay him. See you later. He's out of sight, out of mind. If he'd had to go out there and compete, he probably doesn't make the team. And then he's signing some backup deal somewhere. So
it was interesting timing when he announced this surgery.
Yeah, reading about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, the pain just became too much," and he decided that he couldn't fight through it anymore. It's like, did he actually decide somewhere around I don't know, January 11th when they figured out they had the number 1 overall pick?
And it's 7 months. It's like the exact duration of the season or whatever it is. They said he would be out for the whole season, but they were talking about like perhaps the healing or whatever. But I mean, that was an interesting process because, you know, you go back to when the Texans had that pick at number 2, like he was in the discussion. I mean, I'm not saying that it was something that we were on board with, but you know, it was Will Levis, it was Anthony Richardson, and it was CJ. And the assumption was already kind of that Bryce Young was going to be number 1, but Will Levis, we remember the video of him in the green room, sliding. And then he goes day 2 and never really that impressive. So the Titans, they'd already kind of moved on from him. And now we will not see him again. Life comes at you fast. That was only a couple of years ago.
He's got a few videos of him sliding, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, depending on how you want to phrase it.
Anyway, let's talk special teams. Before we do though, let's talk Bobtac. Shout out to Bobtac for sponsoring the video. Shout out to Bobtac for being locally owned and operated for 45 years in the industry. Bobby and Reed, they've been doing their thing for a while. The phone number is 409-744-8225. They're there 24/7. They'll deliver to you for free, all things safety. Don't let these big companies charge you more and give you less. Anything trucking, anything maritime related, chemical plants, all that type of stuff, they got you covered, and they can get you anything. Just go to bobtac.com. We went through the items the other day. A lot of people kind of surprised that what they could get, even around the house. You can stock up there. But if you are on the dock, or you're in the truck, or you're in the factory, hazmat, all that type of stuff, they got you covered. Locally owned and operated 24/7. You need it, they got it. No problem. Shout out to Bobtac, 409-744-8225.
Yeah, if you're involved in the purchasing of your company or you know who is, put Bobtac on the radar and you're going to find yourself with a locally owned and operated company, saving yourself some money and a free local on-site delivery, man. The big places aren't giving you that. So Bobtac's
Damn sure not. Damn sure not. So let's talk special teams. We've gone through all the positions. We'll save the quarterback for tomorrow, the day before camp, because as a wise man once told me, it is all about the quarterback, and we're going to that third phase, special teams. Not as good last year as we become accustomed to. You had Steven Sims blunders where he was fielding punts inside the 5. You had some fumbles, kick return up and down, punting kind of up and down with Tommy Townsend. Still decent special teams, but not the standard that we had kind of gotten accustomed to. And this year it did seem like they invested pretty decently in special teams, especially like guys that are known as mainly special teams player, not necessarily defensive guys. They definitely invested in that.
Yeah, they brought back Tremont Smith, and Frank Ross was super happy about that. Nick Neiman is a special teams forward type of player. They brought back Jake Hansen. He's on the depth chart. He'll be a special teams forward type of player if he makes the team. EJ Speed's got special teams experience. Braxton Berrios is specifically a special teamer, basically. I know he has the designation as wide receiver, but he gets to play special teams. Heck, even one of their draft picks, Jalen Knoll, has special teams experience as well. So they've given themselves plenty of options at a variety of the different special teams, positions that they're going to need players. And I know a lot of people from a special teams standpoint were happy that Chris Boyd's not running around there anymore. So that's a big positive too.
Yeah, and one of the big differences, I saw this brought up to you yesterday on your TV appearance with Jason Bristol. no John Weeks. You got Austin Brinkman as the long snapper. I know I feel bad for Weeks. It's got to be weird for him. He's in San Francisco now. But there's a new deep snapper in town. And look, hopefully we don't even know his name. Because if we know this guy's name, unless he's here for 10, 15, 20 years like Weeks was, if we don't know his name, that's a much better thing than anything else, because John Weeks didn't have bad snaps. And we'll see how this guy handles himself, how he handles business, but it's really just kind of a high bar. And I don't know if there's like another element to it, but I mean, Ka'imi Fairbairn and John Weeks were really close. And I'm sure that a lot of the routines that they went through were probably pretty much muscle memory from week to week. And maybe the mental side of things, maybe there's like a comfort level with Fairbairn. And we'll get into that when we get to the landlocked special teams questions. But I don't know how big of a deal this is. I just know that as long as we don't know this guy's name, I think you'll be better off.
That's the perfect way to put it. The less you focus on who he is, and if you don't know his name and you don't know his number, he's probably doing a good job. If you figure out who he is, he's probably doing a bad job. And I am interested to see, because it's not only is it not John Weeks, this is a rookie. He's never snapped at the NFL level before. They had a different guy on the roster in the offseason program, and they moved on from him, and they went with the rookie. And it's one of those things that's not an issue until it becomes an issue. And it could derail a ton of different things for your team if this guy's not exactly what they need him to be. So, the hope is that you never notice him. And if you do notice him, it's bad.
What do you think was the reason to like get rid of John Weeks? I'm not trying to like overanalyze it. I know there's like a certain amount of money where once you're a veteran, it's, I don't, is it like $500,000 or something like that difference or whatever? Like what do you think the reasoning was? Do you think there was like some sort of performance thing, or you just think they just said, okay, well, we can save money here? Because it seems like a weird thing to penny pinch with the way Nick Caserio negotiates contracts. Like it just, seriously, like if you're not worried about it, then I mean, it's a good thing not to be worried about. Maybe they thought that the performance was, I don't even know how you really evaluate it. I'm assuming they have like stopwatches, and there's probably timing elements when it comes to kick in and all that, but it just, I would love to know like what went into it. It's not like a question that I have for Nick Caserio on Wednesday. Like it didn't make my list, but I do wonder like how they evaluate this.
I think you should ask him about Brinkman, why he's here, not Weeks. Financially, the cap hit is, $300,000, $400,000. So it can't be that. Like if you're operating to where you don't have $400K, that'd be silly as hell to be the reason. I have to think it's twofold. One, John Weeks is going to play forever. So if they see a guy or they believe in a guy that could be a long-term solution there, maybe they hope to get there before they need to. And I suppose there's a chance it's performance-based, but did it feel like Tommy Townsend or Ka'imi Fairbairn suffered because Weeks wasn't doing his job? It didn't feel that way to me last year.
Yeah, I didn't really feel that way either. So I don't know how to assess it. He does look slow as hell covering kicks, but I didn't see him like missing too many tackles. So I don't know. I actually texted him just wishing him randomly good luck at camp, because I get excited for camp, and it's got to be weird for him. Like he's not wearing the same uniform. He's in a different city. Like he's got all that going on. I do think that he took this to heart pretty badly. I don't think John Weeks thought that his productive days were behind him by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, for an organization like San Francisco to make the investment in him, like they had kicking problems last year. So be interested to see is there anything Weeks can impart on a young guy to kind of get him dialed in. And their special teams wasn't good last year, so they went out there and tried to improve it, and they believe that Weeks can improve it. So there you go.
Then we go to Tommy Townsend. Cam Johnston did a good job for this team. Now we got Tommy Townsend. I thought it was up and down for him last year. He ended up punting pretty well at down the stretch. But Tommy Townsend's a guy who you expected to perform at a top 5 type level. Cam Johnson ended up getting hurt, so it kind of lowered the pressure a little bit and like the direct connection. But Tommy Townsend is a guy who there were some up and downs last year, highs and lows, I shall say.
Yeah, I thought he settled in nicely towards the back end of the year. It did not start as good as it needed to, and there was still a hiccup here or there towards the back end. But you would hope that he's more comfortable coming in this year and he can start at a higher level than where he began last year. That would be my hope. I don't think he was bad overall, but he wasn't. I mean, the touting of Tommy Townsend was, oh, hey, he's a former Pro Bowler, former one of the best punters in the league. Well, he wasn't that hardly at all last year. So he's got to recapture some of that Kansas City form and have that from day one for the Houston Texans in 2025. Hopefully he's not punting a lot. Hopefully he punts a whole lot less than he did last year. Damn it. Because the offense is better. It's never good when you're 4th or 5th in the league in punts. That's not good.
It all goes back to the offense. Then we get to the kicker. He's the GOAT at his position. He's one of the best. He's one of the best to do it when it comes to the Texans. He's definitely the best kicker. And last year there were some highs and there were some lows. It seemed like the long ones were easy. The short ones kind of became difficult down the stretch, and it became kind of a source of frustration for someone who had the highs that he had early in the season, and that's Ka'imi Fairbairn. I am a little bit concerned about Ka'imi Fairbairn. I'll get into that in the top 5 special teams questions, but you've had some strong opinions about Fairbairn. How are you feeling about him as the season approaches?
I just feel like the trust factor that the team has in him is not where the trust factor should be. I mean, you go back to the end of 2023, he blows an extra point, and that almost cost you the division. So that would have been horrible to have the extra point be the difference maker. Obviously, the Colts screw it up a few moments later, so it doesn't hurt you as much. And last year, he missed some kicks that he can't miss. Like, this is if you're going to rely on him this much, like he missed kicks that he can't miss. I mean, he misses a kick against Detroit. I think it's a longer kick, but he missed a kick against Tennessee that if he made it, maybe you operate a little bit differently later in the game and you can flip that loss to a win. He misses that extra point in the playoffs that just eats the momentum away. You clawed and scratched and put together a fantastic offensive drive finally, and you score, and then he misses it. Like you can't do that. You can't take away momentum, and they've got to stop betting on this guy. Like, obviously the offense gets a little bit better. You can bet on him less, but you can't. They were too content last year to try a 50+ yarder. You can't do that.
Yeah, it was almost kind of annoying. I almost wanted him to miss one, to be honest with you, because it was just getting to be a little bit silly. Like on 4th and 1, they're kicking 53 yarders and all that. It's not a recipe for success of how you want to live. It's cool that he's making them, but it just didn't. It would have been nice to see that kind of a little bit tamed, and there was a strong reliability on him early, which brings me to this. When it comes to the special teams, I have 5 questions heading into 2025. Top 5 questions. Number 1, is Fairbairn going to yip? And we see kickers, and I know this is great. Very rarely do kickers like leave the league like with their heads up. Like some of the best kickers of all time, like there's a clear decline, and it's very public because you can't really hide. You're the only guy out there. You start missing field goals that you should make. We've seen it with a lot of the really, really good kickers. And I just wonder, like, if last year we just kind of got a preview perhaps of Ka'imi Fairbairn getting to the point where he's going to start yipping out, and it's going to be a problem that holds this team back. I'm not sitting here saying I would bet on it. I'm just saying it happens with some of the best kickers in NFL history. Justin Tucker's probably a bad example to use because there might have been other stuff going on last year, but we saw it. Like, he was the most reliable GOAT, and he started missing. I used the Mike Vanderjagt example. We saw him kind of fall apart. Like, more times than not, the kicker eventually just kind of falls apart. And I don't know if, like, maybe there's some sort of it's obviously a mental position, but between Weeks not being there, between what we saw last year, I do just wonder if this is the time when it happens, because usually it does happen.
I'll certainly hope not, because you have to imagine if there's some early jitters that the offense has to work out, you will end up kicking a few field goals. So, the last time he put his foot on a football in a game, he missed that extra point
After the best drive of the season. Like it was a big momentum killer against Kansas City. I mean, it was as defeating of a missed extra point to like lose a game could be, with the drive that they put together and then him missing that was just deflating.
Took all the wind out of their sails.
Yeah, that was kind of the ultimate high-low. Question 2, landlocked question 2. So we have the Fairbairn Yip question. Question 2, did they overdo it on special teams?
Yes.
Okay, take it away then.
Yes, I mean they should have spent some of that money on another body on the offensive line. It just, and I don't know that it's like gonna. Like you're not gonna sit here and tell me that if they had a $5 million guard that had played somewhere else, like I feel like way better about this offensive line, but they needed the option. They needed that body, and they could have done with one less special teams specialist and one more something else. Maybe a running back, an offensive lineman, a different tight end, a cornerback. They could have done something different with that money on some of those guys.
It was actually kind of fascinating to see just, the money between Neiman, Tremont Smith, like the money that they spent on special teams, just specialists. It seemed almost like they thought that was like something that they didn't pay enough attention to. And I thought it was a little bit strange. I do wonder if these guys contribute in any way, shape, or form on defense, but it was definitely like an eyebrow raiser, to say the very least.
Yeah, just it was a little much. One less body there, one more body somewhere else would have done well for me.
Question 3, who returns kicks and what does that look like? Who is going to return kicks and what does the new kick return look like? They keep changing the rules on Frank Ross. I know he's not a big fan of that. What do they do? Who returns kicks? Dameon Pierce's name always gets brought up. There's been Noel, Berrios. Who is going to return kicks? Tremont Smith. There's a lot of possibilities. That's going to be one of the things that we're going to keep a close eye on when they do special teams drills in a couple of days.
If Dameon Pierce makes the team, he's going to be one of the kick returners. He's got to make the team to do that. So if he's on the team, he's one of the kick returners. And then the other kick returner, I'm not sure on that. On punt return, I feel like it's a combination of Kirk and Noel. And I really don't see Berrios making this team right now. Maybe he comes in and he looks good and he's able to practice from the first day and he looks really good on special teams. And they're like, well, we got to keep this guy. They love some special teams, but
they don't bring him in. They don't bring him in if they already knew that they were going to get Noel. Let's just be real about that. So I think Berrios was just kind of a move that they made. And it was before they added the possibility of Jalen Noel on special teams.
Yeah, so I would tell you that best case scenario is Noel or Kirk locks down that punt returner position, and you feel like they've got a little juice to them. I mean, punting and punt coverage is good in the NFL right now, so there's not a lot of wiggle room. But you'd rather have a guy that makes smart decisions, and that when he does catch the football, he decides that he decides to do something with it, that he can actually do something with it. There's been far too many times over the past few seasons where guy decides not to catch it, or fair catches it, it's a bad spot, or they decide to do something with it, it doesn't work out. So I like Noel for the punt return and the kick return. I don't have a read on it outside of Pierce, and I'm not sure he's making the team. So
yeah, Berrios was on that the Texans radio interview circle as well. By the way, they dropped Tim Settle today.
Uh-oh.
He gave his NBA Finals prediction. He likes the Pacers. So Must have been recorded. But
yeah.
there you
Well,
go.
we didn't want to go back and just knock that out. Like,
Yeah, maybe like trim it, like it. Yeah, I was listening to Tim Settle. I was like, dang, he sounds focused. And then all of a sudden they go, we know you're a basketball guy. Who do you like in the NBA finals? And he goes, I like the underdog Pacers. And I was like, maybe just like a little cut there would have been good. Maybe just a little one, Question number 4. Landmark specialty. What are you nodding your head at me for?
No, I'm just. How does that happen? We don't. Nope. It's 5 minutes. It's 5 minutes to fix that.
I don't know. Didn't happen, but we got the prediction if you want to go check it out. Question 4. To what level do special teams impact offensive skill battles? And we're going deep in the sticks here. Pause to talk about this, but like at the running back position, special teams. We've talked about the kick returner. Could be Jawar Jordan. Could be Dameon Pierce. Obviously, Dare Gumbawale, they think, is like the best special teams player of all time. So how much does that impact the skill position guys? And then at wide receiver, I think if you look at Watson and you look at Hutchinson at 5'6", I think those are going to be big advantages for them because they play a little more special teams than, say, Wayne and Mechie. So I think special teams kind of impacts the back end of the skill battles.
Yeah, I don't see it really impacting the 2 deep anywhere across the offense. Just because if Chubb is healthy, he's the 2. Marks, maybe he's an element of special teams, but we know he's on the team as a 4th round pick. So it's really that last running back spot, and then as you mentioned, that bottom of the wide receiver room. So I don't really want special teams to touch anything on the 2 deep, with the exception of Jalen Noel. And the only reason I'd want him to do punt returns, I think there's some dynamic ability there. But you're right. This is a definitely, if there's been such an emphasis on how they've added the players, there should be an emphasis on how they perform as special teams players in the deciding factor between those guys. So the 5th, 6th, potentially 7th wide receiver spot, whatever the depth chart is in the running backs after Chubb and Mixon. And is the fullback going to impact special teams too? Because if he's a really good special teams player, maybe they're keeping a fullback.
Perhaps. Number 5, and we actually asked Frank Ross about this. Can the special teams return to Frank's standards? This was Frank when he joined us in the offseason. And I just told him, man, last year wasn't up to par, my friend. They love special teams. Although I will say, Frank, not as good last year as I'm accustomed to. I hold you to a high standard. I don't think
as do I.
Teams met the expectations that I hold Frank Ross special teams to. Is that a fair assessment from me?
Not only is it fair, but it's wanted and welcomed. I've never looked myself harder. We're going to get serious for a second. Never looked myself harder in the mirror following the season. Most teams in the league would take that performance every year. No, it's we want to challenge ourselves to any time we're on the field to answer the bell and do it with extreme efficiency and positive success, as well as create legitimate impact. So that's the goal. That's the standard. I really don't care like how after a great year, if they pat me on the back, or if a bad year, they kick me. Like our goal is to ace those controllables in the realm of 4th down daily and hope it provides success for the football team on Sundays.
A couple questions.
Says all the right things. So yeah, and look, they've spent some money on it, so it's not like they're penny pinching. So if those special teams can return to elite, and I'm not sitting here saying good for everyone else, but like the elite that they were for a 2-year stretch, where they were top 2 in the league in DVOA and the Goose Goslin special teams rankings in the top 2, it's huge, and it's a massive compliment to a defense that we expect to be really, really good, in an offense that probably could use a little more wiggle room than a lot of the offenses in the league. So it's almost, I don't want to say it's expected, but they definitely, the bar is definitely high for 2 of the 3 phases. And this has been the 3rd phase battle here, special teams.
Well, you just think about it too. If the special teams returns to an elite level, both coverage and kicking, and the offense gets better and the defense is as good as we think it is, you start to put together a really good football team. But if this special teams is leaking yards here and there because it hadn't quite figured things out, the kicker's missing stuff, the punter's not as good as you think, all of a sudden you chip away at the top end potential. It's not a huge chunk, but the margins are pretty slim there at the top. So you're going to need special teams to be excellent to go where you want to go.
It's the third phase. Tomorrow we'll conclude the position series with the quarterback. We'll also conclude shows that aren't in season. Training camp begins in 2 sleeps. This is the third phase. This is the Noah Fant discussion. We appreciate y'all for coming through. Business is about to pick up. Subscribe, like, ride along. Shout out to Bobtac.
So the Texans signed a cornerback.
Okay. Let's
Arthur Maulet.
Okay.
Played for the Ravens the past couple of years. Was hurt last year. Tells Cameron Wolf that he's healthy and ready to go. So,
well, then I would put him above Damon Arnett already without even like really diving into what he is. He was a name that was kind of being thrown out there too. So I would say that pushes Damon Arnett down a little bit more.
Well, yeah. Well, this guy's played in the NFL the past few years. So he's already ahead of Damon Arnett. It's worth noting they're going to need to, if this guy's indeed signing, they're going to need to make a roster move to add him. Because they were at 90.
What if they just release Arnett the day before?
Well, there's Arnett, there's Jimmy, there's, I guess, some they could IR Tank and just kind of end his season.
Yeah.
There's a couple different things they could do to make room for, I'm assuming I'm saying the guy's name right, Maulet. So
there you go. Little corner depth. Never heard anyone.
Undrafted in 2017 and has just hung around the NFL, most recently with the Ravens and the Steelers.
Also known as DAR ACB. All right. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember, shout out to Bobtac. When it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. 2 sleeps till camp.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.